Can you understand humour in English? I've known a lot of students who want to be funny in English, but they can't even join in the conversation. Of course, school doesn't teach humour, right? But if you understand what humour is and how to react to it in English, this is the start of being funny yourself. So, today I'll teach you 5 kinds of humour in English and 14 different ways to react. Hi, have you got fluency? My name's Pam and welcome back to my channel. I post videos every Saturday to help you improve your English fluency. And help me out, please. You can change my channel. So please subscribe, comment, click the like button. Okay, let's look at 5 kinds of humour in English from now on. When I give my opinion about each kind of humour, I'll include 14 different reactions to the humour. So try to find these reactions, okay? At the end, I'll show you a list of them. Type number 1, slapstick. Have a look at this clip. Yeah, I gotta be honest, for me it's a bit cringy. It's not really my cup of tea. But just because it's not my thing, I still think Mr. Bean has amazing skills. Anyway, that's slapstick. And slapstick humour means physical humour. The humour comes from the bodies, not from their words. And slapstick's pretty simple. So, don't think. In the clip, it was just a man falling into a pool. You can enjoy that fall or not. But I can't teach any English from it, right? But sometimes slapstick might include a deeper meaning, like Charlie Chaplin. He used it to make fun of politics. Okay, type number 2, sarcasm or being sarcastic. Take a look at this clip.
This is like a complete nightmare.
Oh, I know. This must be so hard. Oh no, 2 women love me. My wallet's too small for my 50s, and my diamond shoes are too tight.
So what do we think of this joke? It's a good one, I think. Points for effort anyway. But I've watched a lot of this show, and I think the joke's maybe not one of the characters' best jokes. But it is a very clear example of sarcasm. Sarcasm, or being sarcastic, means saying the opposite of what you mean. You know when someone says, "You look great," and you just know that they mean you look awful? That's sarcasm. So be careful. A sarcastic comment can be a joke, but it can be just an insult. So if you don't think your listener will laugh, maybe just don't say it. And interestingly, British people and American people tend to use sarcasm differently. When an American person uses it, it's obvious. They'll tend to use an exaggerated tone of voice and keep very strong eye contact. Maybe raise an eyebrow or roll their eyes. The clip I showed you before was an example of typical American sarcasm. But a lot of British people use sarcasm so often that you can't even tell the difference between sarcasm and everyday conversation. For example, watch this.
Excuse me, sorry, do you speak English?
No, I don't, sorry.
Anyway, back to our main example sarcasm clip. Did you get it? So this guy had been complaining about how he cannot choose between 2 women. So this guy said,
Oh, I know. This must be so hard. Oh no, 2 women love me.
and that's sarcasm for, lucky you, 2 women love you. So this guy then listed some fake problems in a sarcastic way to highlight that his friend's problem is a good thing, not a problem.
My wallet's too small for my 50s, and my diamond shoes are too tight.
That's sarcasm for, Complaining about two women loving you is like a rich person complaining about having too much money. So I enjoy this character's sarcasm because I watched a lot of the show, so I know he's a sarcastic person. But if you don't want to scare people with a sudden sarcastic comment, maybe make time to let them know that sarcasm is just your kind of humour.
I'm not great at the advice. Can I interest you in a sarcastic comment?
Okay, enough sarcasm. The third kind of humour is puns. Another word for puns is wordplay. Do you know this movie? The title of the movie is an example of a pun. And in my opinion, it's so lame. It's just cheesy. These kinds of easy puns always seem like such dad jokes to me. And actually, I've never even seen this movie, and I think the title is the main reason why. It just put me off. So, let me show you another example of a pun.
Cheaters never prosper. Do you get? I'll say it again. Cheaters never prosper.
See what they did there? Now that's clever. Very witty. I'm not usually into kids' movies, but I got a whole new respect for Disney after seeing this clip. You guys might not understand it yet, but wait, I'll explain soon. Puns means jokes that play with the double meanings of words. For example, night, night. Flower, flower. Bear, bear. The humour of puns has a long history, so everybody everywhere can use and enjoy them. And I recommend you try and understand them, at least. So to understand puns, English vocabulary is really important. So did you get the joke of the movie title, Made in Manhattan? Well, maid can be 1, a maid who does the housework, and 2, someone made, that is born, in Manhattan. And the main character was both, so this is a double meaning, so it's a pun. Easy. Was it too easy for you? Well, clever puns are really not easy to make. But you sound very cool if you can make a clever pun, I think. So let me explain this pun to you now. First, you need to understand the meaning of the word prosper. It means to succeed. Second, you need to understand that cheetah has 2 meanings. This and this. Third, you need to understand that there's an old saying in English, cheaters never prosper. This means if you don't cheat, you won't succeed. So that's a pun, and it's already funny, but then the movie added some extra humour with a bit of slapstick. Anyway, if you want to master puns, always pay attention to words that sound the same. That helps improve your pronunciation, your spelling, and build your vocabulary too. The next type of humour is cultural references. For an example, look at this clip.
Knock, knock. Who's there? I have a girlfriend and you don't.
Actually, I find that joke a bit insensitive. That character is generally a jerk, I reckon. So maybe if someone else had said the joke, I would find it more funny than annoying. But because he said it, maybe that's why I don't like it. Sorry, Howard. People make jokes based on their cultural backgrounds. And that is a cultural reference joke. It's sometimes difficult to understand these if you weren't born in the country. They might come from a song, a movie, or even politics or religion, something from the culture. And learning a different culture takes a long time. So that's why it takes a longer time to understand this kind of joke too. So let's analyse the clip. First, he said knock knock. Now, every native English speaker understands that when someone says knock knock, they're going to tell you a knock knock joke. Knock knock jokes are classic jokes that we grow up learning when we're kids. But this clip was not a classic knock knock joke. So to understand the joke in the clip, you need to first understand the classic knock knock joke. So, here's a classic one.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Olive.
Olive who?
I love you, Nikki Finn.
Now, the pattern of any knock-knock joke is always like this. The joker says knock knock.
Knock, knock.
The listener says who's there.
Who's there?
The joker says any first name.
Olive.
The listener says first name who.
Olive who?
The joker says words that include the first name or sound like the first name.
I love you, Nikki Finn.
Now, the point of a knock-knock joke is you need to say something funny at the end. So, in this clip, Olive you sounds like I love you. Olive is just some random name, but he wants to say I love you by adding you after Olive. Sweet, right? Maybe it's not funny, but it's kind of cute. Okay, so back to the main clip. He changed the typical pattern of a knock-knock joke. He started a typical classic knock-knock joke at first, but then suddenly changed the pattern in the middle, and then said an insult. And that's why his friends got surprised, and that's the funny part. But it was an insecure joke, so some people might not find it funny. Anyway, that is a more adult way to use a knock-knock joke. And this is just one example of how you can use a cultural reference for humour. But there are a ton of these kinds of jokes. Some of them even about politics and religion. So maybe one day I'll teach you something about those. Now, let's learn about double entendres. Take a look at this clip as an example.
Is that a gun in your pocket, or are you just glad to see me?
It's a bit risque, but I love that joke. It's a classic. I don't have the guts to say stuff like that myself. And I think I don't have the wit either. But I think it's cool. So, double entendres are puns about sex. In fact, double entendre means double understanding in French. If you use them right, people might think you're clever, funny, maybe even sexy if you're lucky. But they're risky, of course. If you use them wrongly, they're just dirty jokes, and they can sound offensive. Also, people can use them to flirt, and that can be risky too. Anyway, as for the clip, could you understand it? I chose an easier one, and I'm sure I don't need to explain the double meaning of a gun in your pocket. The point is, she did not say anything about sex directly. And that mystery is what makes double entendres funny. She was being funny and sexy. You can find these kinds of jokes in a lot of stand-up comedy and also James Bond movies. In fact, I really wanted to show you some 007 double entendres, but they're too difficult to explain politely. And the main intention is always hidden. And if it's hidden well, it's not easy to understand at first. Also, these kind of jokes are borderline dangerous though. So if you don't use or understand them correctly, the result will be totally different. So you need to always be aware of the joke's intention. And now, 14 different ways to react. Did you catch them all? No worries. Here's a list of things you can say anytime anyone makes a joke. Joke reactions are really important because they create the rhythm of a conversation. If you react well, people can find the joke funnier. And they might think you're clever to understand it too. Okay, so the most common reactions are probably just good one if you like the joke, and that's so lame if you don't. If you want to sound like a native speaker, you could use one of these ones. Now, they're pretty commonly used by native speakers, but I've never actually heard even really fluent non-native speakers use them. Use I see what you did there. I see what you did there to show respect for a clever joke. It means, aha, clever. It's a bit cringy is what we use to say that joke makes me feel embarrassed. So I think Mr. Bean is a bit cringy, for example. You say that's just cheesy when you think a joke is predictable or boring. And actually, you can say dad joke to mean almost exactly the same thing. Dad jokes are usually cheesy puns. And I don't know why we insult dads by labeling bad jokes as dad jokes, but I do know that the Japanese do the same thing. Do you say dad jokes in your culture? Anyway, finally, here is one extra reaction that I didn't use, but I think it's important for you to know. I find that offensive. If you think a joke is racist, sexist, whatever, or just rude, then you can say this. And that's it. I hope you guys can enjoy a bit more English humour because of today's lesson. Mastering humour is a long journey, but if you do it little bit by little bit, you'll enjoy your English study much more. And even just knowing a few words or even concepts about English speakers' humour helps you to have more fun communication in English, right? I mean, I found this to be true with my Japanese communication. I live in Japan and I know very little Japanese. So when I watched television, I used to often see two guys talking, and very often one guy would smack the other guy on the head. And I used to think, wow, aggressive. But that's Japanese manzai. Manzai is a popular kind of comedy here where one person's job is to be silly and the other person's job is to point out, hey, look how silly my friend is. Sometimes they do that by smacking them on the head. So now, when a Japanese friend says something silly, I smack them, gently, on the head too. They laugh, I laugh, we feel closer. Humour does that, right? Anyway, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed watching this as much as I enjoyed researching it. And if you learned anything at all, please subscribe, comment, like. If you comment, you can request a topic for the future from me too. In fact, today's topic came from a request from Elaine8035. So hope you enjoyed this, Elaine. Next Saturday's lesson is from another student's request. It will be on the topic, how to manage angry clients. So be sure to subscribe so you can see that lesson, and be sure to comment if you have a topic request. Okay, thanks for watching. See you next Saturday.